Have you ever tried growing an avocado from seed, only to wait months staring at a pit in a glass of water, wondering if anything is actually happening? Maybe it finally sprouted, but then the little tree just never seemed to thrive the way you hoped. Well, today I am going to show you the fastest way to grow an avocado from seed, and I will walk you through the entire process from the moment you scoop that pit out of the fruit all the way through 5 months of growth. I have tested both the popular water method and the direct soil method side by side, and the results might surprise you. Plus, stick around to the end where I will share a simple trick that can speed up germination even more. Let's get into it. Growing an avocado tree from seed is one of the most rewarding projects you can do as a gardener. There is something almost magical about taking what most people throw in the trash and turning it into a beautiful living tree. And here's the good news. It is actually a lot easier than most people make it out to be. Once you understand a few key principles and follow the right steps, you will have a thriving little avocado tree in just a few months. So let me start by showing you how to select and prepare your seed for the best results. The first thing you need is a good seed, and not all avocado seeds are created equal. When you cut open your avocado, take a look at the pit. You want one that is plump, firm, and free of any cracks or damage. Avoid seeds that look shriveled or have dark soft spots on them, because those are signs the seed may not be viable. Now, there are different avocado varieties out there, and the two most common ones you will find at the grocery store are Hass and Reed. Hass avocados have that dark, pebbly skin and a smaller seed, while Reed avocados are larger with smooth green skin and a much bigger pit. Both will grow just fine, but I have noticed that the larger reed seeds tend to sprout a bit more vigorously in the early stages simply because they have more energy stored up in that big seed. Once you have your seed, you need to clean it thoroughly. There is usually a lot of that slippery avocado flesh clinging to the pit, and you want to rinse all of that off under warm running water. Use your fingers to gently rub away any remaining fruit, because if you leave it on there, it can start to mold and cause problems later. Now here is an important step that a lot of people skip. You want to carefully peel off that thin, brown, papery skin that covers the seed. I know it seems like it should stay on, but trust me, removing it helps prevent mold growth and actually allows the seed to absorb moisture more easily. Just run it under some water and use your fingernail or a paper towel to gently rub it off. Some seeds peel really easily and others take a bit more patience. But do your best to get as much of that skin off as you can. Now let me show you what I believe is the fastest and most reliable method, which is planting your seed directly in soil. I know the toothpick and water glass method is what everyone sees on social media, and we will talk about that too. But after testing both approaches side by side, the seeds planted directly in soil consistently outperform the ones grown in water. Here is exactly how to do it. Get yourself a pot that is about 6 inches in diameter with drainage holes in the bottom. This is really important because avocados hate sitting in waterlogged soil. Fill your pot with a good quality potting mix. You want something that drains well but still holds some moisture. I like to use a standard potting mix and add a handful of perlite to improve drainage. Now, take your cleaned seed and look at it closely. You will notice one end is slightly flatter and one end is more pointed or rounded. The flat end is the bottom where the roots will emerge, and the pointed end is the top where the stem will sprout. Plant your seed with the flat end facing down, and here's the key. You only want to bury about the bottom half to 2/3 of the seed. Leave the top portion exposed above the soil line. I usually bury mine so about 1/3 of the seed is still visible. This helps prevent rot and lets you see when that first crack appears as the stem starts to emerge. Give your newly planted seed a good watering until you see water draining out the bottom, and then place it somewhere warm. Avocados are tropical plants, and warmth is really the secret to faster germination. If your house stays around 70 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit, that is perfect. If your home is cooler, especially in winter, consider placing your pot on a seedling heat mat set to around 75 degrees. This can cut your germination time significantly. I have seen seeds on heat mats sprout 2 to 3 weeks faster than ones at room temperature. Now let me explain the water and toothpick method as well, because I know many of you may want to try it. This is the classic approach where you suspend the seed over a glass of water using toothpicks. It is fun to watch because you can actually see the roots developing, which is pretty cool. To do this, take 3 or 4 toothpicks and insert them into the middle of your seed at a slight downward angle, spacing them evenly around the seed. Be careful to avoid those natural seams or crevices that run down the sides of the pit, because if you put your toothpick right into one of those, you might split your seed in half. Once your toothpicks are in place, rest the seed on top of a glass or jar filled with water so that the bottom half of the seed is submerged. Place it somewhere warm with indirect light and change the water every few days to keep it fresh and prevent bacteria buildup. The water method does work, and it is satisfying to watch those roots curl around in the glass. However, here is what I have found. Seeds grown this way often experience significant transplant shock when you eventually move them to soil, and that shock can set them back weeks or even months compared to seeds that were grown in soil from the start. The roots that develop in water are adapted to an aquatic environment, and when you suddenly put them in soil, the plant has to adjust all over again. So while the water method is fun, if your goal is the fastest growth, soil is the way to go. By the way, if you are finding this helpful so far, take a second to subscribe so you do not miss my upcoming videos on fruit tree growing. All right, let us keep going. Let me walk you through what to expect month by month so you know your seed is on track. During the first month, honestly, not much seems to happen above the soil, and this is where a lot of people give up too soon. But trust me, a lot is going on underground. The seed is absorbing moisture, swelling slightly, and starting to send out that first taproot. Just keep the soil consistently moist, but not soggy. I water mine when the top inch of soil feels dry. Around month 2, you should start to see a crack forming in the top of the seed. This is exciting because it means the stem is getting ready to emerge. The crack will widen over the next week or 2, and then you will see a thick reddish or greenish stem pushing its way up. At this stage, make sure your plant is getting bright indirect light. A south-facing window is ideal, but keep it out of harsh direct sun, which can scorch the tender new growth. By month 3, your stem should be several inches tall, and you will start to see the first leaves unfurling at the top. These first leaves are often a beautiful reddish-bronze color before they mature to green. Your avocado is now photosynthesizing and will start growing more quickly. This is when I like to start a light feeding schedule using a balanced liquid fertilizer diluted to half strength once every 2 weeks. Months 4 and 5 are when things really take off. Your little tree will be putting out new leaves regularly, and the stem will be thickening and becoming more woody. By 5 months, a healthy avocado seedling grown in soil can easily be 12 to 18 inches tall with multiple sets of leaves. Compare that to water-grown seedlings, which often struggle to reach 8 to 10 inches in the same time frame because of that transplant shock we talked about. If you did start your seed in water and now need to transplant it, let me share some tips to minimize shock. Wait until you have a good root system, at least a few inches of roots. But try to transplant before too many leaves develop. The more top growth the plant has, the harder the transition will be. When you are ready, fill your pot with moist potting mix and create a hole big enough to accommodate all the roots without bending or cramming them. Gently lower the seedling in, keeping the seed at the same level it was in the water with about half exposed above the soil. Fill in around the roots carefully and water thoroughly. Here's the important part. For the first week or 2, keep the soil more moist than you normally would. The roots are used to being in water, so you need to gradually wean them off that constant moisture. After about 2 weeks, start letting the top inch of soil dry out between waterings to encourage the roots to adapt. Let me talk about some common problems you might run into and how to solve them. First, If your seed has been sitting for over 2 months with no sign of cracking or sprouting, it may not be viable. Not every seed will germinate, and grocery store avocados have been refrigerated, which can reduce viability. If nothing is happening after 8 to 10 weeks, it is probably best to start fresh with a new seed. Second, if you notice mold growing on your seed, especially with the water method, this usually means the water is not being changed often enough, or there is still fruit residue on the pit. Remove any visible mold with a paper towel. Make sure the seed is clean and change your water every 2 to 3 days. Third, if your seedling's leaves are turning brown at the tips, this is almost always a watering issue. Brown tips typically mean the plant is getting too much direct sun, the air is too dry, or you are watering inconsistently. Avocados like humidity, so misting the leaves occasionally can help, especially in winter when indoor air is dry. Fourth, if the stem is growing tall and spindly without many leaves, your plant is not getting enough light. Move it to a brighter location or consider adding a grow light, especially during winter months. Avocados need plenty of bright light to develop that nice bushy growth. Fifth, if leaves are yellowing and dropping, especially lower leaves, you may be overwatering. Let the soil dry out more between waterings and make sure your pot has good drainage. Root rot is common with avocados, and it starts with yellowing leaves. Now for that bonus tip I promised you. If you want to speed up germination even more, try the paper towel method to pre-sprout your seed before planting. Wrap your cleaned seed in a damp paper towel. Place it in a plastic bag with the top loosely open for airflow, and put it somewhere warm, like on top of your refrigerator or on a heat mat. Check it every few days and keep the paper towel moist. Within 2 to 4 weeks, you should see the seed crack and roots begin to emerge. Once you have about an inch of root, transfer it to soil. This method combines the visibility of water sprouting with the benefits of soil growing, and it can shave a few weeks off your total germination time. So that is everything you need to know to grow an avocado from seed the fastest way possible. If you found this helpful, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon so you know when I post new videos. I would love to hear about your avocado growing adventures, so drop a comment below and let me know which method you are going to try. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.